Let's go. Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 22nd, 2018, and we are live. We have a lot to talk about. Hey, it's been 2 weeks since I've been on live. I was in Atlanta last weekend for the Liberated Minds Black Homeschool and Education Expo, okay, in Atlanta. And we'll talk a little bit about what happened there. I was on 2 panel discussions, and I did a presentation on the last day, on Sunday, dealing with the film Black Panther, lessons from the film Black Panther, economic guerrilla warfare, political self-defense, and how to Wakanda the vote. All right. Well, look, we have a lot to talk about on tonight's show. A lot happened this past week. It was a crazy, crazy week. And some of you saw my Facebook broadcast, Facebook post dealing with this week and dealing with what's going on with Donald Trump. We know he met with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland on Monday. He had a debacle of a press conference, then spent almost 24 hours having to backtrack what he said. Okay, so we're going to talk about that tonight. And there was some other topics, so we'll deal with. And there was a breaking news story on Thursday from the New York Times, which really exposed Donald Trump as a traitor. Oh, yes, it did. Did y'all read the article? From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. Did y'all read this article from New York Times, July 18th, Thursday, July 18th, 2018? Because this basically exposes Trump as a traitor, but I told you that 2 years ago during the election. People didn't want to listen. So tonight we'll talk about, in our first segment, we'll deal with, first 2 segments, Donald Trump is a traitor and the first Russian president of the United States. Here's why. Oh no, we've got evidence. Oh no, we've got evidence. This isn't speculation. No, it's just pretty clear. 2 weeks before his inauguration on January 6, 2017, Donald Trump was shown highly classified intelligence indicating that President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia had personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election. And he wasn't trying to sway it on behalf of Hillary Clinton. Okay, did you all read this article? Oh, this article is very damaging to Trump. Okay, New York Times, you got to read it. And this was I saw the story break live on MSNBC. Okay, and I posted about it. I read a number of articles about it. Oh, it's deep. So all this time, Trump knew. All this time, Trump knew that Vladimir Putin ordered the attacks. He was shown overwhelming evidence. He was briefed by then FBI Director James Comey. He was briefed by then CIA Director John Brennan. Okay, he was briefed by then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. He was shown overwhelming evidence. The evidence included texts and emails from Russian military officers and information gleaned from a top secret source close to Vladimir Putin, who had described to the CIA how the Kremlin decided to execute its campaign of hacking and disinformation. And Trump has been acting clueless, like he didn't know. Like, oh, it could be China, it could be Russia, it could be it could be a 400-pound person sitting on their sofa, sitting on their side of their bed. I think that was an attack on Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey. I think that was an attack on Chris Christie. But Trump has been acting clueless. No, Trump knew 2 weeks before the inauguration on January 20th, 2017, he was shown overwhelming evidence. And then you see the debacle in Helsinki on Monday. Okay? So we're going to put you want to get your pens and pad handy because I'm going to provide you with a lot of information, a lot of evidence, a lot of articles, a lot of video clips. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Okay? So we'll deal with that. Then also, I did a broadcast about, I did a Facebook Live broadcast and put it on our 6 different podcast platforms about this other story. Nearly 100 Black bodies forced into labor after slavery had been found in a mass grave in Texas. Nearly 100 Black bodies forced into labor after slavery have been found in a mass grave in Texas. This is going to change the history books. We'll talk about that. Then we found out late this past week, the NFL halts the national anthem, the new national anthem policy after the Miami Dolphins were criticized for considering suspensions of players who protest the national anthem. Now, Trump has denounced this decision. Trump needs to be quiet. He has enough problems to deal with. And this is a labor issue. Why are you sticking your nose into this? We'll talk about that as well. And then last week, well, week before last, I dealt with this story because I was in Atlanta last weekend. African-American farmers are suing a seed company, a soybean seed company, claiming that they were sold fake soybeans with the intent of stealing their land. African-American farmers are suing a soybean company claiming that they were sold fake soybeans with the intent of stealing their land. And there's a history behind African-Americans having their land stolen as well. Okay, we went from only 15 million acres of land, most of it farmland in about the 1920s, to only about 1 million acres of land a day. All right, so we'll talk about that as well. All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can sign up for the email newsletter there as well, okay? All right. So, and also, we have a sale going on our online courses. The Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade online course, which is on demand, on sale $40. We have a 24-hour sale. And the 10-course online bundle pack, which is regularly $130, is on sale for $50 right now. That's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. They're all on demand. Okay, so this has been a crazy week. Let's jump right into this, right? And some things were confirmed this week if you have been paying attention. Unfortunately, some people haven't been paying attention. Some, were working and legitimate reasons. Others are just, I don't know what they're doing. But we're going to help you get caught up. So we know this past Monday, Donald Trump met with Vladimir Putin behind closed doors, only interpreters, one interpreter for the US, one interpreter for Russia, no note takers. Why is this? Okay. So then he comes out and they do a press conference. Okay, this past Monday. Now, New York Times reported, they have an article, July 16, 2018. Write this stuff down. Go research this. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Trump at Putin's side questions U.S. intelligence on 2016 election. Okay, I'm going to tie all this stuff together for you. So Trump is questioning the intelligence agent, the U.S. intelligence agencies. He's siding with Putin. But January 6, 2017, he was shown overwhelming evidence that Putin had personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election. And Trump is clueless. Like, so President Trump, Donald Trump, president, he's the first Russian president of the United States, a fake president. Trump stood next to President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia on Monday, July 15, 2018, and publicly challenged the conclusion of his own intelligence agencies that Moscow interfered in the 2016 presidential election, wrapping up what he called a, quote, deeply productive, end quote, summit, meeting with an extraordinary show of trust for a leader accused of attacking American democracy. In a remarkable news conference, Donald Trump did not name a single action for which Vladimir Putin should be held accountable. He did not name a single action for which Vladimir Putin should be held accountable. Instead, Trump saved his sharpest criticism for the United States and the special counsel investigation led by Robert Mueller, a Republican, former director of the FBI, Vietnam Marine combat veteran. He didn't get 5 deferments from Vietnam because he was a coward and didn't want to fight like somebody else who shall remain nameless, right? Instead, he saved his sharpest criticism for the United States and the special counsel investigation into the election interference, calling it a quote unquote ridiculous probe and a quote unquote witch hunt that has kept the two countries apart. Now, here you have Trump, who was briefed on January 6, 2017, showing overwhelming evidence that Vladimir Putin personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 US election. And Trump is standing here acting oblivious, siding with Vladimir Putin. Trump even questioned the determination by his intelligence officials that Russia had meddled in the election. Trump said, quote, "They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia." So the president continued only moments after Vladimir Putin conceded. If you watch the video, you can go to whitehouse.gov. All these videos are at whitehouse.gov. Just Google Trump Putin, okay, Helsinki, and it'll come up. You can watch the entire press conference. This was only moments after Vladimir Putin conceded that he had wanted Donald Trump to win the election because of his promises of warmer relations with Moscow. All this came out on Monday. All this was revealed on Monday. Quote, "I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be." This is what Trump said, why it would be Russia, okay? President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. So it took almost about 24 hours, maybe about 21 hours, for Trump to then have to backtrack and then come out and say what he meant to say wouldn't as opposed to would. After all hell broke loose and Newt Gingrich denounced it and Representative Paul Ryan denounced it and all these Republicans came out and denounced it, after it was playing on MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, then Trump comes out and says, "Oh, well, I meant to say wouldn't as opposed to would." Like, we're that stupid to believe this. But you were briefed, but we found out Thursday. See, the story from the New York Times broke this past Thursday that he was briefed on January 6, 2017 by the head of the intelligence agency, the CIA, the FBI, Director of National Intelligence at the time, James Clapper, Director of the NSA, National Security Administration, okay, Admiral Michael Rogers. He was shown overwhelming evidence that Vladimir Putin personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 US election, and this traitor stands there and lies and acts stupid. We should be outraged behind this. We should be outraged behind it. And this traitor has nominated a nomination who was vetted by the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society to be a US Supreme Court justice, which is a lifetime appointment. And it could very well go to the US Supreme Court whether or not a sitting president can be indicted. That may go to the US Supreme Court. So the article from the New York Times, July 16, 2018, write this down, go read this yourself. Proper documentation is all conversation. You don't have to take my word for this. Trump at Putin's side questions US intelligence on 2016 election. This was July 16th. July 18th, the story broke that Trump was briefed January 6, 2017, 2 weeks before the inauguration, and shown the evidence. The 45-minute news conference that took place Monday, July 15th, offered the spectacle of the American and Russian presidents both pushing back on the notion of Moscow's election interference, with Putin demanding evidence of something he said had never been proved, and Trump appearing to agree. But Trump had been briefed. When asked directly whether he believed Putin or his own intelligence agencies about the election meddling, Donald Trump said there were, quote, two thoughts, end quote. He said there were two thoughts on the matter. One from American officials like Dan Coats, Director of National Intelligence. We just saw this past week, I think it was Thursday. Dan Coats was at the Aspen Security Conference in Aspen, Colorado. He was being interviewed by MSNBC, okay? And he found out from a tweet from Sarah Huckabee Sanders that Trump is coming to the White House in the fall. That's going to disrupt midterm elections for Republicans. That's not going to be good for Republicans, midterm elections, okay? So when asked directly whether he believed Putin or his own intelligence agencies about the election meddling, Trump said there were, quote unquote, two thoughts on the matter. One from American officials like Dan Coats, his Director of National Intelligence, asserting Russia's involvement, and one from Vladimir Putin dismissing it. Trump said, I have confidence in both parties. What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? This is after he was briefed January 6, 2017, that Vladimir Putin personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election. Read the article from the New York Times. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. What the hell is going on? We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. And we're going to hear from Maxine Waters, because she was interviewed this morning on AM Joy and Reed, MSNBC. Listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, guys, stand by. All right. Stand by. Okay, we're back in 2 minutes. Those on, hopefully it cleared up here on YouTube. Those on Facebook, we should be good. We're broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. So on Facebook, we're broadcasting on our fan page, the African History Network, on Facebook, and then also on YouTube, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. How's everybody doing? Write down the names of these articles I'm giving you. I'm not making this stuff up, okay? I do too much research to do that. Write down the names of these articles. Go research this yourself. You don't have to believe a word that I say. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. This is why midterm elections are crucial, and this is why a lot of Republicans are scared to death of midterm elections, all right? Okay, so let's see here. Let's pull this up. We're broadcasting on 9:10 AM Superstation on their Facebook page as well. Let me pull that up also. Okay, we'll get that going as well. All right, so we got one caller, Azure.
Yep, Victor.
Okay. All right, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We're gonna go to the clip from Maxine Waters when we get back, then we'll go to the phone lines.
30 seconds.
Okay, oh damn. Okay, I gotta get these clips in. Okay, and it's a memo. And is that memo over there against the wall? Is that important? Is that something for me to announce?
Oh no, that's just saying one.
Okay,
of the, yeah.
It's all right. Okay, just as long as it don't pertain to me. That's what I need to know. All right. Anything else? All right, you can deal with it on this show. I was trying to make sure. Okay, all right, we're coming back live. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment. Where are the veterans who voted for Trump? Where are they? You know, that's interesting. Okay, let's go. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. All right, during the break, we were talking to the people on Facebook Live, our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. We're broadcasting there. And also on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. Follow us there, the African History Network on Facebook. And follow us on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, because we have hundreds of videos and video clips on both pages. And also follow 910 AM Superstation's YouTube channel as well. I mean, Facebook channel, I should say. 910 AM Superstation on Facebook also. We're broadcasting there as well. All these different platforms, all right? Okay, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. Before we go to the phone lines, I got to get to this first clip here. So this morning on AM Joanne Reed, MSNBC, she interviewed Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat from California. Maxine Waters discussed Vladimir Putin and Trump, and she talked about how it's about the sanctions. It's about the sanctions. Oh, we got to talk about that. Let's go to this clip. I'm gonna turn up in here.
But I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer.
Donald Trump shocked even his harshest critics with his submission to Vladimir Putin this week, likely including my next guest. And join me now for your moment of Maxine, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California. And Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Welcome. So were you, I think much of the country was surprised to actually see Donald Trump in action with Vladimir Putin and how submissive he was in public. What did you make of what happened in Helsinki?
Well, I'm not surprised at all. As a matter of fact, I have for months been trying to tell the American public and everybody else that this president is dangerous, that he's in bed with Putin. Someone said he wants to be like him, whatever. He will never, never condemn him because of the relationship that they have. This didn't just start. This started a long time before he was ever elected. Don't forget, this president cannot borrow money in the United States from any bank. This president is looking at Russia for his new money financial playground. He and all of his allies that I have told you are the Kremlin clan. I have been involved with Russia. When you name them and you think about them, why isn't Manafort, Flynn, Wilbur Ross, Carter Page, Papadopoulos, all of his allies have connections with Russia, the Kremlin, and the oligarchs. This has been going on because this is their new money playground that they want to develop. And the centerpiece of this is lifting the sanctions. I would wish people would focus on the sanctions. I think that's the agreement that Putin had with this president elected. I believe and promised him that once he was elected, he would get those sanctions lifted. And you're going to watch. He's going to continue to try because Putin is saying to him, when is it going to happen? So he has a private meeting with him. We know what they talked about. I think I know what they talked about. They talked about lifting the sanctions. They talked about the upcoming elections. They talked about all of the things that they could not talk about in an email or on the phone. He had to go and meet with him in private so that he could talk about what he's going to do to follow through with what I believe is his commitment to get those sanctions lifted. Don't forget, when Tillerson was there, he just couldn't put up with this president. He found this president to be so outrageous that he ended up leaving, but he came to be a part of helping to get these sanctions lifted. It's worth trillions of dollars. Everybody will make some money if he can get this done. Right now, Putin's hands are tied. He cannot get the equipment or the supplies that he needs to do the work because our allies. So I'm not surprised about what happened in Helsinki. I'm not surprised about the private meeting. I'm not surprised about this president standing up for Putin. As a matter of fact, I think he is Putin's apprentice. He's been under his tutelage for a long time now, and he intends to get it done. And the American people are sitting idly by. And the Republican Party should be ashamed that they're allowing this to happen. They have no guts They have no courage. They're not standing up for America. I dare them to talk about how patriotic they are, given what they're allowing this president to do. Now they're all going to send out press releases saying, oh, we don't want you to invite Putin. Well, he's going to invite him unless the Congress of the United States and the Republicans really take some serious action. How many of the Republicans are saying, I won't come to the White House. I'm going to be outside demonstrating? How many of them saying, don't invite me to any dinner? You better not have a state dinner. How many are saying that they're just saying you shouldn't and we don't want you to do it? But I want to tell you, if they don't take strong action to keep him from bringing him here, he's going to bring him here. And that will be another straw in his hat that he can point to and say, see, Mr. Putin, I'm moving this forward. What we talked about, what we're going to do. I'm going to get this done. And forget about what he did with North Korea. That's just an effort to say that I'm doing this with both countries. And that's just an effort to say that, see, I'm trying to create peace and relationships in different ways. But the fact of the matter is, his focus is on Russia.
How much time is left in that clip?
And you're going to see him continue to try it because he has an agreement that he cannot get out of. When people want to know what does Putin have on the president of the United States, is this agreement where the president promised he was going to get the sanctions lifted and Putin is going to hold him to it.
Let me, you mentioned Carter Page, Congresswoman, and here is the FISA warrant, which was released in unprecedented fashion by the FBI. We have it this morning, and folks are reading through it. What do you think that the release of this document does to the credibility of the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes?
Well, first of all, they've got to understand that he was put under surveillance because of the actions that he was taking, not only that caused suspicion, but I think it was deemed that he basically was going to be used to spy. He's not considered to be very smart, not considered to be very, capable of resisting the Russians. And so I think that Nunes and all of them are looking very silly. I think that they should be ashamed that they would in any way undermine the FBI and the FBI's work to try to protect this country from our enemy, which this president says he's not our enemy. He's just a competitor. He keeps going on like that. But the fact of the matter is that Nunes and any others who have tried to undermine them to say that somehow they were unfair.
All right. So that was this morning on MSNBC. That was Representative Maxine Waters in California, who's been calling for Trump's impeachment. Now, let's keep in mind, she has seen classified information that many of us don't even know exists. And she's been calling for Trump's impeachment. And this is one of the reasons why midterm elections are so important, November 6, 2018. Check out the clip from MSNBC.com entitled Maxine Waters on Putin and Trump. It's about the sanctions. You can watch the entire, there's about 30 seconds left, but I have to move on. You can watch the entire clip. You can archive it. So you can create a database, right? So when you call in the radio shows, right, you can deal with facts and evidence and you can shut down a lot of this nonsense that these other people call in with. Now, she mentioned it's about the sanctions. That's very interesting. Representative Maxine Waters mentioned that. Because when you look at an article from Newsweek.com, June 2nd, 2017, a year ago, it's entitled Trump White House Made Secret Efforts to Remove Russia Sanctions. Really? This is just one of many. Oh, I got over 20,000 articles. Oh, yes. Trump White House made secret efforts to remove Russia sanctions. This is not from 2018. This is from June 2nd, 2017. Donald Trump's administration moved quickly to try and lift economic sanctions on Russia and other punishments former President Barack Obama had put in place as soon as it took office in January of 2017, according to multiple sources who have spoken with Yahoo News. Now, Dan Fried, or Fried, I think it's Dan Fried, who retired in February 2017 as coordinator for sanctions policy at the State Department, said there was serious consideration by the White House to unilaterally rescind the sanctions. Now, here you have Representative Maxine Waters, who has seen classified information, said it was all about the sanctions. Here you have reporting going back a year ago, June 2nd, 2017, Newsweek.com, not InfoWars, not Soda Head, not Breitbart. Trump White House made secret efforts to remove Russia's sanctions in January of 2017. Very interesting. What's all this about? Every time you look around, it's a Russian, either alive or dead. Are we supposed to think this 150 coincidences? Dan Fried told veteran investigative journalist Michael Imhotep, a former national investigative correspondent for NBC News and Newsweek alumnus, that in the early weeks of the administration, he got several quote unquote panicky calls from US officials. They asked, quote, please, my God, can't you stop this, end quote. Please, my God, can't you stop this, end quote. The sanctions in question included those imposed by President Barack Obama for Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, which Russia was kicked out of the G8 for. And January 8th and January 9th, this traitor calls for Russia to be brought back into the G7, but he doesn't say why they were kicked out. Because Vladimir Putin sent forces into Crimea in 2017 to take control of Crimea from the Ukraine. And Trump, when he was on his way to the G7 meeting, he did a press conference on Friday, June 8th, and he did one on Saturday, June 9th. And he openly called for Russia to be brought back into the G7. And he said they were kicked out for some reason, but he never said why, because they violated international law. That's why. The sanctions in question included those imposed by President Barack Obama for Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and others inflicted late last year, 2016, to punish Moscow for its suspected efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. The plans Trump administrations considered early on included returning diplomatic compounds seized from Russia in late 2016. Recent reports say Trump is currently working to put this plan into action. Now, this article is from a year ago. Maxine Waters, Representative Maxine Waters, said it's about the sanctions on Russia. June 2nd, 2017, a year ago, Newsweek.com reported Trump White House made secret efforts to remove Russia's sanctions. What is going on? But it gets deeper than that, because they weren't the only ones that reported on this, right? Independent.co.uk had an article. Donald Trump tried to roll back Russia's sanctions the moment he got into power. Interesting. But he wants to play dumb like he doesn't know what's going on. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Victor, line one. Victor, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Detroit.
All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead with your question or comment.
And man, I'm just listening, soaking up all of this knowledge. I don't really have too much to say, you know.
Okay.
Other than, you know, just listening to all of these facts that you can't argue with, you know. I'm just sitting up here, shaking my head, saying two words, you know, the word God, G-O-D, right?
Right.
And then the other one is damn.
Right.
I know they won't kick me off the radio for saying that simple word. But the only two words that I have come to mind is adding those two words together. You know,
right.
God,
right. Right. I got you.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable that he's being allowed to play the American people and the public like a baby grand piano. And I'm hoping and praying that it all backfires in his face before it's all said and done. And that's my comment.
All right, man. Midterm elections are extremely important. I'm trying to tell you all, you go research Watergate. The Watergate break-in took place June 17, 1972. It took 2 years and 2 months for Richard Nixon to be forced to resign from office. He resigned from office August 9, 1974. He was the first U.S. sitting president to resign from office. You had Democrats in control of the House of Representatives. They drew up articles of impeachment against him. The first article of impeachment was obstruction of justice. The second article of impeachment was abuse of power. You had Democrats in control of the U.S. Senate. Now, he resigned before he was put on trial because you had Republicans who went to him and said, we've seen the evidence against you. If you're put on trial in the Senate, you're going to be found guilty. So he resigned from office. August 9th, go to history.com, the official website of the History Channel, and search for Richard Nixon's resignation and research that. It took 2 years and 2 months for that investigation. This is 10 times worse, at least 10 times worse. Also, incidentally, 48 people around Richard Nixon went to prison. He got a pardon from Gerald Ford, who was his vice president. Gerald Ford became his vice president because his first vice president, Spiro T. Agnew, 8 months prior to Richard Nixon resigning from office, Spiro T. Agnew resigned from office. Why? Because Spiro T. Agnew was charged with corruption charges and tax evasion charges. So Spiro T. Agnew, sitting vice president, he had to resign from office also. 48 people around Richard Nixon went to prison. You got Michael Cohen. I think he's about to sing like Aretha Franklin. Michael Cohen's got tapes. He has something better than receipts. He's got tapes. I told y'all during the election. I tried to tell you. Now read this article from independent.co.uk. This is from June 3rd, 2017, a year ago. Donald Trump tried to roll back Russia's sanctions the moment he got in power. Wait a second. Trump just said Thursday or Friday that he's been harder on Russia than any president, and he called President Obama a patsy for Putin. No, that's what Trump is. Trump is trying to project on the President Obama his own character deficiencies to distract people. Donald Trump tried to roll back Russia's sanctions the moment he got into power. The probe into the Trump campaign's Russia ties has been growing. This is a year ago. Read this article, independent.co.uk. I've got others. I don't have time to get through all of them, okay? But when you start putting the pieces together, right, this becomes damaging and overwhelming, okay? And then you realize that, as Maxine Waters said, Trump is Putin's apprentice. Trump is Putin's apprentice. Okay, so if we go back, we'll go back to the phone lines in just a minute here. If we go back to this article here from July 16th, Tuesday, July 16th, Trump at Putin's side questions U.S. intelligence on 2016 election, right? Now, this is before Trump came out and had to walk back his statements. And he said, I meant to say wouldn't as opposed to would. He talks about how brilliant he is and he has one of the world's greatest memories, but he made allegedly a mistake like that. No, he was telling the truth. This is what he thinks. So then, you know, when you get caught with your foot in your mouth, what do? You got to walk it back. You got to walk it back. He created a new dance called the walk back. He had to walk it back. Okay, this is what he did. All right, so when asked directly whether he believed Vladimir Putin or his own intelligence agencies about the election meddling, Donald Trump said there were two thoughts on the matter. One from American officials like Dan Coates, Director of National Intelligence, asserting Russia's involvement, and one from Vladimir Putin dismissing it. Trump said, I have confidence in both parties. Really? He then changed the subject, demanding to know why the FBI never examined the service of the Democratic National Committee and all this stuff, right? But keep in mind, he was briefed January 6, 2017. Shown overwhelming evidence that Vladimir Putin ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election. Now, his performance drew howls of protest from Democrats and some Republicans, prompting John Brennan, who served as CIA director under President Barack Obama, to suggest that the remarks warranted Donald Trump's impeachment. He said, quote, Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki rises to and exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. That's Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. That deals with grounds for impeachment, which is determined by the House of Representatives. Now keep in mind, John Brennan resigned from office January 20th, 2017 with the inauguration of Trump, 12 noon. Brennan has seen classified information we don't even know exists. Brennan was one of the intelligence chiefs who briefed Trump January 6, 2017 about Vladimir Putin ordering complex cyber attacks to meddle with the 2016 election. So I'm going to go to I want to go to this clip here. Let's go to clip number 5. This is from Meet the Press Daily from July 18, 2018. This was Wednesday, July 18, 2018. Former CIA director John Brennan. The more Trump's behavior is tolerated, the more he's enabled. The more Trump's, we got it? Okay, let's go to this clip here. Take a listen to this.
Doctor, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. Do you want to respond to the president?
Well, you know, when the president, Donald Trump, was elected president in November 2016, I was skeptical that he had the qualifications, the temperament, or even the potential to be a strong president. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But soon after his election, he started to denigrate the intelligence and law enforcement profession, as well as professionals, as well as their work. And then over the past year and a half, I think he has demonstrated time and time again that he lies to the American people and that he is not fulfilling the responsibilities of the office of the presidency in terms of keeping this country strong and safe. I was hoping he was going to bring this country together after a very contentious election. And so I have been outspoken, and I have taken to the Twitter sphere. And some of my tweets, I will acknowledge, are rather shrill, if not strident. Maybe I'm just an intelligence officer, and I'm trying to ring the bell because I see all the warning signs here, especially when it comes to national security. I worked in national security in the government for close to 35 years, and on issues related to Iran and North Korea and proliferation and Russia. And when I see the types of things that Mr. Trump is doing, yes, I will speak out. I'm hoping to be able to shake some, quite frankly, some sense into the people around Mr. Trump and those on the Hill. Because the more that they tolerate and they make excuses for his behavior and his performance, the more they're enabling him, the more they're encouraging him to do these types of things. I don't know whether or not he can change his ways or not. I don't know if he's making any difference whatsoever. I feel it's my personal obligation, and I'm going to stay true to my principles. And the fact that Mr. Trump calls me a bad person, well, I need to be able to speak openly and clearly about the concerns that I see in terms of the future security and safety of this country.
Okay, so that was from Wednesday, July 18th, 2018. Meet the Press Daily, MSNBC. Former CIA director. The more Trump's behavior is tolerated, the more he's enabled. That was John Brennan. He was one of the people who briefed Trump January 6, 2017. Okay, go create a file folder in your web browser, and these clips that I give you, put them there. Because I've got 20,000 clips. I got 20,000 articles and clips archived just on Facebook alone. I mean, I do research between 6 to 10 hours a day. Okay, so I'm just giving you like the tip of the iceberg. So then we look at Wednesday, July 18th. This story was that Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah, Wednesday, July 18th. The story breaks from the New York Times. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Interfered. And before we go to that, I just got to share this paragraph. Okay, so we know the previous week you had the 12 Russian intelligence officers who were indicted, right? But Trump's statements at the news conference were a remarkable break with his administration, which the previous Friday indicted 12 Russian intelligence officers for cyber attacks intended to interfere in the presidential contest. The indictment explained in detail how Russian intelligence officers hacked the Democratic National Committee in the presidential campaign, providing the most explicit account to date of the Russian government's meddling in American democracy. Trump said he did not regard Putin as an adversary, but as a quote, good competitor. Dude, this is not The Apprentice. What are you talking about? Adding that quote, the word competitor is a compliment, end quote. Now, if we look at, let's see here. Let's go to, I want to go to Ali Velshi, because Velshi gives a summary. This is from Thursday, July 19th. Let's go to this clip 3. President Trump's mixed messages on U.S. intelligence and Russia. This is Ali Velshi MSNBC. We have it queued up. Clip 3. President Trump's mixed messages on U.S. intelligence and Russia. Let's go to that clip.
Justice. So I'd have to loop in the Department of Justice on this. This is something that just came out. I didn't get a chance to see the entire White House briefing a short while ago, so I will just tell you that Russian assertions are absolutely absurd at this point.
Well, I get that. Okay, they're absurd. Thank you for saying that, Heather Nauer. There's a sharp contrast between what the president says and what the U.S. intelligence community says, and there really should not be. 2 weeks before his inauguration, the heads of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and the Director of National Intelligence provided the president-elect with evidence that Putin personally ordered the attacks on the 2016 election. That means from the day Donald Trump was president, he had this information. The New York Times reports that Trump was shown texts and emails from Russian military officials and intelligence from British, Dutch, and American intel services. But the president keeps disputing these professionals, like this tweet from January of this year, which says Russia continues to say they had nothing to do with meddling in our election. 2 weeks later, the intelligence directors, led by Trump appointee Mike Pompeo, had this to say.
No change in my view of the 2017 assessment. I support that, and I agree with Director Pompeo's assessment about the likelihood of the 2018 occurrence as well.
And participated in that 2017 work. I stood by it then, I stand by it now, and I agree with Director Pompeo. This is not going to change or stop.
General Ashton?
Yes, it is not going to change, nor is it going to stop.
Throughout the entire community, we have not seen any evidence of any significant change from last year.
I agree with Director Pompeo. February 13th, you're pardoned if you missed that because you were preparing for Valentine's Day, but that was February 13th. 5 months later, July 13th, despite the unanimous assessment, the president still seemed unclear on that point days before meeting with Vladimir Putin.
You'll ask, will we be talking about meddling? And I will absolutely bring that up. I don't think you'll have any, gee, I did it, you got me. There won't be a Perry Mason here, I don't think, but you never know what happens, right? But I will absolutely firmly ask the question.
But it shouldn't be a question. The president has known since his first day in office. At the president's news conference, the Justice Department indicted 12 Russian intelligence agents for their part in the attacks, and his own director of national intelligence said this.
It was in the months prior to September 2001 when, according to then CIA Director George Tenet, the system was blinking red. And here we are nearly two decades later, and I'm here to say the warning lights are blinking red again. Today, the digital infrastructure that serves this country is literally under attack.
Okay, the Director of National Intelligence is your main guy to coordinate all that intelligence. Despite Dan Coats saying that, President Trump's pick, Dan Coats, a Republican former senator from Indiana, the president still gave 2 interviews, one doubting Dan Coats, his DNI, the other one reluctantly acknowledging him.
Your DNI, Dan Coats, said that America's digital infrastructure is at a critical point right now, similar to what it was like in some ways before 9/11, and that is we're susceptible to a large-scale attack. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I'd have to look.
Coach says the threat is ongoing. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'd accept him. I mean, he's an expert. This is what he does. He's been doing a very good job. I have tremendous faith in Dan Coats. And if he says that, I would accept that.
Okay. Despite the overwhelming agreement by everybody who's an expert, as the president says, that Russian attacks on our elections continue, the president again denied it. Or did he? Listen to this.
Is Russia still targeting the U.S., Mr. President?
Correct.
Let's go.
Got a chance to speak with the president after his comments, and the president said thank you very much and was saying no to answering questions.
Did you see that? I mean, it was nuts, right? The president was asked this question. He said no. And then the explanation is he was saying no to answering more questions. But then the president asked more questions. We have had 2 to 3 consecutive days of these weird walkbacks, not
And
walkback
that's what I don't
denials
understand.
of
Ali,
things that the whole world listens to.
let's say our hearts and minds are completely open. I cannot understand why any of this nonsense continues. The
Okay,
president,
let's pause it right there.
you're looking at the White House.
All right, so he walked it back. He walked it back. When you stick your foot in your mouth, what do? You walk it back. That's what he did. All right, so that's from Velshi and Rule, MSNBC. President Trump's mixed messages on U.S. intelligence, and I think that's the name of that clip. President Trump's mixed messages on on U.S. intelligence and Russia. Okay, so pull that up, msnbc.com, Velshi and Rule. You can watch the entire thing there. Articles they talk about. You can go research this. You can create your own database of research. Now, if we look at the article from Washington Post, WashingtonPost.com, July 18th, Thursday, July 18th, which coincides with this clip. Okay, this is entitled "White House Attempts to Clarify Trump's Response to Whether Russia is Still Targeting U.S. Elections." So, you know, Trump said, Trump was asked if he thought that is Russia still targeting the U.S., Mr. President. Trump said, "Thank you very much. No." Trump responded, shaking his head. He said no again. He said, "No, you don't believe that to be." A reporter said, "No, you don't believe that to be the case." And he said no. And then he went on to say that no president has been tougher on Russia than he has. He said, quote, "I think President Putin knows that better than anybody, certainly a lot better than the media," end quote. So then Sarah Huckabee Sanders came out and said, "Oh, well, I talked to the president and he was saying no, he wasn't going to answer questions." He answered the question. I mean, what are you talking about? So they must think that we're stupid. Read this entire article. I don't have time to get through it. White House attempts to clarify Trump's response to whether Russia is still targeting U.S. elections. Okay, we're coming up on a break. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to talk some about the story that broke on July 18th, Wednesday, July 18th, from the New York Times. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. Then you have Republican a member of Congress, member of the House of Representatives, Will Hurd, who's a former CIA director, who wrote an op-ed article for the New York Times entitled "Trump is being manipulated by Putin. What should we do?" And Will Hurd, former undercover officer in the CIA, he said in this op-ed article, July 19, 2018, he said, "I saw Russian intelligence manipulate many people. I never thought I would see the day when an American president would be one of them." Now here you have a former CIA undercover officer who's now a member of Congress, Republican, member of the House of Representatives, saying this. Read this article from the New York Times, July 19th, Thursday, July 19th. Trump is being manipulated by Putin. What should we do? You listen to the African History Network show, 910 AM Superstation, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. I'm Michael Imhotep. When we come back, we'll go to the phone line. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. Stand by, guys. We'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. We're on break. How's everybody doing? 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. Okay. And then we're going to get to these other topics also. This is a deep topic because a lot of this information I'm sharing, a lot of people don't know this stuff. Okay. So I'm giving you the sources so you can go research this yourself. Okay, on Facebook, Julie said impeachment of the current president and all people he choose. So you got to go to loc.gov, Library of Congress's website, read the U.S. Constitution. You want to look at Article 2 of the Constitution, Article 1, Article 2, but specifically Article 2, Section 4. The president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. This does not mean, okay, the meme floating around social media saying that all of them are going to be removed from office. That's not what it says. It's saying that that's ground for any of them to be removed from office. If the president is removed from office because of impeachment, that doesn't mean the vice president is removed and all of the officers. That's BS. Those are people who don't understand what this means. They haven't studied the Constitution. Okay. All right. It's Article 2, Section 4. All right. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes here. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600. Okay, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network. That helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay the bills, etc. Go to paypal.me/the AHN show. paypal.me/the AHN show. Also, if you want to advertise with the African History Network, hey, email me at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. All right, if you want to advertise with the African History Network. Okay, so other topics we're going to deal with, we'll talk about nearly 100 bodies have been found in, 100 Black bodies have been found in Texas at a construction site in Texas. And they nearly 100 Black bodies forced into labor after slavery have been found in a mass grave in Texas. Also, we'll deal with the NFL halting their new national anthem policy after the Miami Dolphins were criticized for considering suspensions of players who protest. And Trump denounces the decision, but Trump should be quiet because he has his hands full. Okay, coming back. And register for our online courses also. We have them all on demand and they're on sale right now, $40 and $60, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Let's go back to, okay, let's go. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. When you listen to my show, you definitely want to have pen and pad handy so you can take notes, because I'm going to give you tons of articles and video clips for you to go research yourself. Proper documentation ends all conversation. You don't have to believe a word that I say. Go do your own research. All right. Okay. So we're going to continue for a few more minutes with the topic from our first hour, dealing with Donald Trump is a traitor and the first Russian president of the United States. Here's why. We've been dealing with what happened this past week, starting Monday with his debacle of a press conference in Helsinki, Finland, which was after his meeting with Vladimir Putin, with only an interpreter there, no note takers. And other former ambassadors like Ambassador McFall, former ambassadors to Russia, and former ambassadors are saying this is unheard of, to have a meeting with an adversary like Vladimir Putin, and you don't have any note takers there to record what happened. You just have interpreters. Just what is going on, okay? All right, and then also we'll talk about nearly 100 Black bodies found in a grave, a mass grave in Texas at a Texas construction site. We'll talk about that. I did a Facebook Live broadcast and put that on YouTube. Michael Imhotep on YouTube, IMHOTEP, a few days ago. And then we'll deal with NFL's policy also on NFL halting their new national anthem policy, dealing with the white national anthem after the Miami Dolphins were criticized for considering suspensions of players who protest. And Donald Trump came out and denounced that. All right. I want to let you, we'll go to the phone lines in just a second here, but I want to let you know very quickly, we have a sale on the online courses at the African History Network. We have a 24-hour sale at africanhistorynetwork.com. Our 14-hour 7-session online course, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, is on sale $40, regularly $60. That's a 14-hour 7-session online course, is all on demand at africanhistorynetwork.com. You can watch from around the world, deal with thousands of years of history. And then we have a 10-course online bundle pack on sale $50, regularly $130, which includes Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, and includes Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization, African-American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump, Voter Suppression, Reparations, and How Elections Have Consequences. Also includes a online class I did March 31st, dealing with the film Black Panther, okay? So that's at africanhistorynetwork.com. We have a 24-hour sale going on. All right, let's go to the phone lines, and then we're gonna get to this article, this story that broke Thursday from the New York Times. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Rico, line 2. Hey, Rico, thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from.
Detroit.
Okay, go ahead, man. Go ahead with your question or comment. Go ahead.
I don't believe Donald Trump actually had anything to portray. I believe he was double agent the whole time. You know, brought up to sabotage America.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then after that, if that found out, since he wasn't so close with Russia, then what do we do? Do we get text?
Say that again. You said if what now?
If Donald Trump is found out to be a traitor and working for Russia, and what do we do?
You saying if he's impeached?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends upon what happens to Pence. Depends upon if Pence is impeached also. I don't think Pence's hands are clean. So it depends upon if Pence is impeached or not. But if Trump goes down, it's going to put a whole lot of pressure on Pence. If Trump goes down, it's going to put a whole lot of pressure on Pence. I mean, go study Watergate. Keep in mind. Keep in mind, 48 people around Richard Nixon went to prison. Nixon got a pardon from Gerald Ford. 48 people around Nixon went to prison. Now the other thing is, even say hypothetically, Putin. Not Putin. Pence gives Trump a presidential pardon. Say hypothetically, that does not protect Trump from state charges. Attorney generals in different states, like the state of New York, can still bring him up on various state charges. Like, say for instance, money laundering. Hypothetically, okay. So presidential pardons do not protect you from state charges, just federal charges. Go ahead with your second comment.
Like you know with Clinton. I mean, why did Clinton go to jail?
Clinton. So Clinton was impeached December 19th, 1998. Okay. Bill Clinton was he was acquitted in the Senate. You need 67. You need 67 votes in the Senate to convict. So he was acquitted in the Senate. Okay, but this is a entirely different. This is an entirely different thing. He was brought up on perjury charges because he lied about the affair with Monica Lewinsky. This is something entirely different. Because see, when you could say it again now. No, what'd you say? What'd you say?
It seems like she's completed this time, but they impeached him.
Well, see, impeachment does not mean removed from office. Impeachment means to be the articles of impeachment are drawn up in the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives take a vote whether to impeach the president, which means to put the president on trial, or it could be a vice president, or it can be another elected official. So you have members of the Freedom Caucus, which used to be the Tea Party, Republicans. They've drawn up articles of impeachment against Assistant DOJ Director Rod Rosenstein. Okay, so you need 218 votes in the House of Representatives to impeach a president. Then the trial is held in the U.S. Senate. You need 67 votes because there are 100 senators in general. You need 67 out of 100. 2/3 to find the president basically guilty and remove the president from office. You need 67 out of 100.
Okay, I got another comment.
Go ahead.
It's about what you say in the beginning of the show.
Go ahead.
What you think about yourself, what you hear about yourself.
Yeah. What you think about yourself is based upon what you've been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself.
Right. I mean, I already think that statement is true.
Say again?
But people like
put
a lot of stuff on you know what I mean? And you can't really say that because black people have been told all kinds of stuff about themselves, and you know what I'm saying, basically been showed and stuff. But you know what I'm saying, it's not really true. You can't really say that people in a situation are in a situation.
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
I'm saying that's like saying that you are your situation. Really not.
No, I'm saying that the choices you make are based upon largely the information that you have within the circumference of your awareness, and whatever's disseminated becomes imitated. So what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is largely based upon what you think about yourself. So if you think that you are an N-word, then you probably act like one, and you respond when somebody calls you like one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
based upon
I
what?
don't believe it.
Well,
That's
I'm not based upon beliefs.
Everybody call me an N-word.
I'm not. No. That's not saying that you accept the fact that you are one. I'm talking about. See, I've been studying media for 26 years.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about people. So your circumference of awareness may be larger than other people's, and the veracity of your.
It's like true evidence of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you ever studied Donald Bogle? You ever studied Donald Bogle?
Who is Donald Bogle?
Donald Bogle is the godfather of African American cinema. I mean, you can read, for instance, you can read the Blacks in American TV and Television, which is an encyclopedia of African Americans in TV and media, and he deals with the stereotypes going back. So every well, let me ask you a question just a second. Every TV show or movie that had a significant African American character in it up until about 1987 to 88 is detailed in this encyclopedia, including the movie The Birth of a Nation. You ever studied the history of minstrel shows in the country going back to 1828, 1829 with T.D. Rice, Thomas Dartmouth Rice, who creates the Jim Crow character?
No.
Yeah. See, when you study history, you'll see what I'm saying. Okay.
I mean, like even now, in all the cinema, well, yeah, cinema and stuff that Black people got now, they being told stuff about this stuff that aren't really true. Like,
well, no, you're dealing with stereotypes. You're dealing with myths and stereotypes.
Like they only hope is to like rob people and kill people and stuff, but I don't believe that's really true. So if I'm being told that about myself, that's like saying that you should believe it, and I don't believe that's the case.
No, what happens is that many of us are being lied to the media. For instance, read the article from thinkprogress.org from March of 2015, how news outlets help convince you that most criminals are Black. And this was a nationwide study that deals with how local news outlets disproportionately show African Americans as being the perpetrators in stories that deal with crime, and is disproportionate with their arrest rates. They gave, for instance, in the city of New York. In the city of New York, African Americans, in the city of New York, they looked at the NBC News affiliate, the Fox News affiliate, the ABC News affiliate, and they found about 75% of the news stories that dealt with crime had African Americans as the perpetrators, but African Americans only made up about 51% of actual arrest rates. March 25th, 2015, how news outlets help convince you that most criminals are Black. Read that article. Look at hold on just a second, then I'll let you finish, and then we got to go to John on line 3. Look at Huffington Post, Black Voices. When the media treats white suspects and killers better than Black victims. When the media treats white suspects and killers better than Black victims. And what they did was they looked at nationwide headlines dealing with white suspects and African Americans who were the victims of violent crimes and things like this. And what they found was that oftentimes when it's a white suspect, the media will go out of their way to show how it's so much out of this person's character to kill 15 people. He was a good science. He loved science, but he killed 15 people. But when it's an African American who's the victim of violence, when it's an African American who was killed, then they go into their background and they say, well, this person was in and out of jail for 15 years. Oh, this person had a 15-year drug addiction, almost blaming them for their own killing. Yeah, read that article. Okay, man, I gotta get these other calls. Thanks for calling. Keep listening. All right, let's go to John, line 3. Hey, John, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
Yeah, okay, of course, from the east side of Detroit.
Okay, go ahead, man.
And you broke it down, and congratulations to you. You really took it through. So I waited a long time, but it's okay. Hotep, I just wanted to let you know that it was a lot of them Republicans was in Trump hotel when them when all them styles and Asians come from Russia, was up there too. It was about the Republicans. That's why the United States Attorney General, Traitor, and got the code for and Trump almost blasted him out of the White House.
Right, you're talking about Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. Yeah, and he had to recuse himself. And Trump said, if I had known he would have recused himself, I would have chosen somebody else.
The Russia had a deal amount of money, and they were going to spread the money around with the Republicans and so forth. And they were much more Republicans up there in the Trump Hotel.
Right.
Some of them claimed it was on the 24th floor, some of them on the 25th floor.
Right.
So I just wanted to express that and so forth. And I don't know if you're familiar with the MI5 and MI6. So they got a whole lot of stuff to put out to put Trump.
Oh, I believe it. Absolutely. I believe it. I believe it. And then also the National Rifle Association is being investigated to see if Russia was funneling money through the NRA to help get Trump elected because the National Rifle Association spent $30 million to get Trump elected. So they're being investigated right now to see if Russia was funneling money. This is the connection with Bertina, the 29-year-old Russian woman who was just indicted. This is involving that, right? And then the story came out saying she was using sex to she was bribing people with sex. Have you seen this woman? Who the hell is she gonna bribe with sex? Are you kidding me? It's like, man, come on. Wait a second, man. Her boyfriend was like 51 years old. This ain't, wait a second. Look, wait a second. If you like 50 something and a 29-year-old woman comes up to you, right, and wants to have sex with you, you need to suspect something's going on. Man, I looked at this one. I said, oh my God. Now, maybe after they had 5 vodkas, maybe she looked like a white Beyonce. But I'm looking at this woman. I said, wait a second, man. Who the hell did she bribe with sex? I said, man.
I mean, let's face it, putting a lot of money around, man.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And see, they need to follow the money. So people like Devin Nunes, Republican from California, people like Jim Jordan. Now, Jim Jordan may go down because of this case with the wrestlers being sexually abused. And you got a number of wrestlers saying, wait a second, Jim Jordan, when he was an assistant wrestling coach, he knew about this. Okay, so he may go down behind that. But dude, I'm telling you, man, this is deep. This is deep. Okay. Yeah. Putin is probably the richest man in the world. If not the richest, he's probably if not the richest, he's probably number 2. Now, when they do like the Forbes list, they don't include dictators. That's why he's not on there. That's why Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon and the Washington Post, right, is number 1, over $100 billion after the Amazon Prime Day. But Putin is probably the richest man in the world. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. He got close to 80 billion.
You may have more than that. I don't know. So if he's not number 1, he's probably number 2. I gotta get this other call, man. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling. Okay, let's go to Wilson. Hey, Wilson. Abdullah. I'm sorry, Abdullah's been holding. We'll come to you next, Wilson. Abdullah's been holding for a while. Abdullah, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you for taking my call and really laying it out, my brother. You always like a lot of people look you all over, look that all the world. Like,
yes.
I got friends that call and they love you.
Oh, thanks, man.
And Donald Trump, he is he's the money for the deal. And like you, I'm glad you mentioned it about the money. And the criminal, see, I was in the Korean conflict, and they was called the criminal, and then they were trying then to take over the country.
Which conflict? The Korean conflict?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a war. They called it the country.
Yeah, okay.
I think that they're trying to take over America again. Now they got us. They just they take control. You know.
Right.
And this is what they're doing. He works
Right.
for them.
Well, with the Korean War, this is what separated, if I remember correctly, what separated North Korea from South Korea. This is why it separated today. Now, so before he met with Putin and before the G7 summit, June 8th, 2018, right? He met with Kim Jong-un, right? What countries are the boundaries of Korea?
North Korea. So,
Let me help you because we're coming up on the break in a minute. The boundaries of North Korea are South Korea and Russia.
well, yeah, I know South Korea.
Those are the boundaries. If you look at a map, there's something going on here with Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un, and Russia is at the North Korean border.
Right.
It's something going on there.
And I'll tell you something else. See, what Donald Trump did, he messed this country up, people around the world. I'm gonna laugh. Like, we thought that was smarter than that.
Man,
Get a president like that.
I feel sorry for a lot of white people. I feel sorry for a lot of, hey, let me just say, I'll let you finish just a second. I feel sorry for a lot of white people who did not vote for this fool because he's making white people look really bad. There's a lot of white people who did not vote for him. 53% of white women did vote for him, but you got 47% who did not vote for this fool. And he's making white people look really bad. Go ahead, we got 30 seconds.
And what he's doing now, you know, China's got more people there, and they got business, everything. He's bringing the people, bringing the Chinese and the Koreans, all of them coming together. That's what Donald Trump does.
Right.
You know, they don't want to be, you know, trying to give nobody no credit like him. They know something's wrong.
Right,
and
right.
He ain't gonna make it. It's a God, brother.
Right.
God's gonna bring him down. The Almighty God is going to happen. It shows.
It's karma, man. All this stuff is coming out, man. All the lies are coming out. Yeah, all the lies are coming out, man. And you can run, but you can't hide. All the truth is coming out. Yep, the truth is coming out. All right, man. We have to go to break. Thanks for calling. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes. Listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. The Superstation, the Future Radio. When we come back, we're going back to the phone lines. We're going to Wilson when we come back. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. Okay, stand by. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going back to the phone lines. Okay, so we had to start the broadcast again on Facebook. Something happened with my phone on Facebook and it restarted Facebook or some BS. Okay, those on YouTube. Okay, so when we come back, I'm going to go to Wilson. Then I'm going to go to clip 3. The threat of Trump, the threat of President Trump's back and forth on Russia. From Stephanie Rule. We're going to go to that. We did clip 4 already. And then the last clip will be Malcolm Nance. So we'll go to clip 3 when we come back. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. Now, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network. We definitely need your support. PayPal.me/the AHN show. PayPal.me/the AHN show. Wait a second, where is this broadcast? Okay, so we'll be back. I'm gonna give you some more information, some more articles to go research. So when you hear these idiots calling the radio shows and have no clue what they're talking about, because I don't have time to call into these radio shows, right? I'm doing research. When you hear these idiots call in, you have some ammunition to shut them down because they're just calling in with nonsense. Okay, they're not doing any research. All right. Let's go. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. You can read all the articles I write at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can listen to almost 900 audio podcasts of our various radio shows and broadcasts there at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can sign up for, we have a special promotion going on, 24-hour sale on the online courses that I teach. They're all on demand. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That's a 14-hour, 7-session online course that I teach. We deal with thousands of years of history. That's on sale, $40, regularly $60. And then also we have a 10-course online bundle pack, which includes that course, and as well as African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. It includes great African women in history, the mothers of civilization, and some other ones. That's on sale $50, regularly $130. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Those are all on demand. Watch from around the world. Okay. Check out this article from AtlantaBlackStar.com. Really good article. This is one I was talking to Rico about. 9 facts that show white on white crime far exceeds black on black crime and how media outlets can. This is from March 3rd, 2015. I had thousands of articles. I've been studying media for 26 years. So I understand the propaganda because I was trained in it. I know the propaganda when I see it. I know the methodology. I know the propaganda when I see it. 9 facts that show white on white crime far exceeds black on black crime and how media outlets conceal it. Read this article. This is deep, especially look at number 7, because see, number 7 deals with how gang violence among whites is worse than gang violence among African Americans. It deals with how about 53% of gang homicides are committed by white people from 1980 to 2008. That's from a 36-page study from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. I went and read that study. Page 12, table number 7 lays this out. And then about 56% of gang homicide victims are white. About 56% of gang homicide victims are white, not based upon perception, based upon the data. But when you watch the television, you don't get this perception. This is why this is entitled 9 facts that show white on white crime far exceeds black on black crime and how media outlets conceal it. Then read the article. See, I've done a whole lecture called Empire Strikes Black, the propaganda of the media. Empire Strikes Black, the propaganda of the media. Then read thinkprogress.org, March 25th, 2015. How news outlets help convince you that most criminals are black. How news outlets help convince you that most criminals are black. This is not based upon belief. No, they did a nationwide study. This is looking at the data. All right. Let's go to Wilson, line 4. Hey, Wilson, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Detroit.
Hey, how's it going, man? Go ahead.
As always, been an excellent show.
Thank you.
The best show on this station, and I'll tell you why. I'm not trying to get any brownie points.
Okay.
Majority of other hosts would just come with opinions and theories, and they're okay, but they're only one set of facts.
Right. Why? Now, I don't want to speak negatively by any other shows on the network. I don't want, yeah. All right. Go ahead. I'm not trying to beat up anybody else, man. But proper documentation ends all conversation. Go ahead with your next comment.
You're one set of facts. And the deal is that you come with the truth, which is something that will enhance the quality of people's lives. Theories and opinions won't do anything for that.
Right.
There's something real sinister going on with Republicans, and it has been for years. There's nothing new with them. Everyone knows about Nixon, but I'm just going to put just a second with Nixon was the guy who pardoned Harper, the crook, the thug.
Jimmy, pardon who?
He pardoned Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, okay.
And the Teamster guy.
Yeah.
It was nothing but a thug.
Right.
And before Nixon could even be charged with anything officially. Ford pardoned him.
Right, he did. Within a month of Nixon resigning from office, Gerald Ford gave him a pardon, presidential pardon.
Because you know he quit. They were going to impeach him, but he left office.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, before he could be charged with anything, Ford pardoned him.
Right.
Move on up to Ronald Reagan, who had another scandalous administration. It was horrible. You know, they had all kinds of investigations.
Iran Contra. Yep.
Yeah, they sucked all the air out the room, but there was a lobbyist scandal under Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was an EPA scandal. Lady went to jail. Samuel Pierce, the brother from HUD, he was investigated for years and ruined his career.
Mm-hmm.
And his national security advisor was found guilty in Congress for perjury in the Congress. Poindexter, McFarland, and Weisberger were found guilty and charged. Then you had George H.W. Bush, who
Mm-hmm.
pardoned all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but it's something real close going on now. A couple of weeks ago, a Republican contingent of senators went to Russia and basically told the prime minister over there, said, look, bygones are bygones. That's all in the past. We can come in to talk about who won the election. I mean, you know,
it was 8 Republicans. It was, I think, 8 Republican congressmen who went over there.
And not one Democrat. They wouldn't even think a Democrat would have.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, I mean,
so I think it's more than just Trump. I think it's some of them compromised also, man. Seriously.
There's no doubt about it. Devin Nunes, who really threw the monkey wrench in the House intel thing, you know, he has an orchard out there in California, and he has a contract with guess who? With who? I mean, you know, this has been orchestrated by Putin so long and so well, it's unbelievable, because Donald Trump couldn't orchestrate his way out of a paper bag.
Oh, no.
This guy has got, like, Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, is
Yes.
the vice chairman of a bank in Cyprus that does money laundering.
Cyprus Bank. Yeah, he was the vice chairman, not anymore, but he was the vice chairman of Cyprus Bank. Cyprus Bank is known for laundering money from Russia. Yeah, this is the Commerce Secretary. Yeah, look, every time you turn around, these people have connections to Russia, whether it's Rex Tillerson, who was Secretary of State, who got the highest award given by the Russian government to a non-citizen of Russia. And Trump did not know Rex Tillerson before he became president.
Didn't know it was Madam and Condoleezza Rice went to bat for him, and Putin also indicated a preference for Tillerson. You know, and Donald Trump said prior to him going into the Oval Office that nobody in his administration had any contact with the Russians. At last count, it was 23.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you turn a rock over behind a tree, there's a Russian.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Or Russian business. So there's something real sinister
going
on here, and the tentacles reach wide and far. Just something briefly, you're on the money about the propaganda from the newspaper. You know, for years, the town Taylor, Michigan, led the state in crimes per population in terms of cities. The crime rate was much higher than Detroit.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, the other thing is, man, you know, and I'll let you finish, and then I gotta get to these. I gotta get this other information, but just 1 second. You know, the Metro Times had an article about 3 years ago dealing with who is buying sex in Detroit. And they talked about how when they have raids and they're busting people for buying sex from prostitutes, things like that, half the cars are registered to the suburbs. This was the big story from the Metro Times. But Detroit gets the black eye, but you got white men coming from the suburbs, coming in Detroit to buy drugs and prostitutes.
Listen, they just had a raid 2 days ago in Watergate, Michigan, at 3 massage parlors. They just closed it down. just 2 days ago. They just closed it down.
Right.
And Pete Wallmeyer and some other people who was running columns in the Detroit Free Press in the 60s, they even admitted that they wrote negative columns about Detroit for after cocktail chatter and for people in the suburbs.
Right.
I mean, it is always to describe
denigrate and demean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And to get the propaganda arm, you know, so it's always a deflect thing. You know, I know you got a lot of the callers.
Yeah, no problem, man, no problem. Okay, the Metro Times, Google this, because the article is not coming up from the Metro Times. They may have moved it, but it was called "Who's Buying Sex and Drugs in Detroit?" Who's buying sex and drugs in Detroit? Suburbanites. Okay, metrotimes.com. Read this article. This came out about 3 or 4 years ago. All right. Okay, I need to go to this other clip here. We're going to go to clip number 3. Stephanie Rule, MSNBC. The threat of President Trump's back and forth on Russia. The threat of President Trump's back and forth on Russia. Because see, remember, Trump did the walk it back. Okay, what you do when you stick your foot in your mouth, you walk it back. You walk it back. Let's go to this clip.
With President Trump and his administration in a sea of claims and corrections, we're now in day 4 of the president trying to make it clear just who and what he believes when it comes to the Russian cyber threat. And I have a great team here this morning to help break all of it down. But first, I help you understand what exactly is going on, because President Trump has been wading through more than one self-made controversies this week. Initially,
it's something
it was about
playing.
whether Russia interfered in the last election. But the current,
maybe that's the music.
maybe even more important, it focuses on whether Russian interference is still going on. Here's what the president and his team have been saying. Listen to how things change over time.
The warning lights are blinking red again. Today, the digital infrastructure that serves this country is literally under attack.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I'd have to look.
Is Russia still targeting the U.S. Mr. President? Brad, let's go. Make your way out. No, you don't believe that's the case? Let's go.
I talked to the president. He wasn't answering that question. He was saying no, he's not taking questions.
Coach says the threat is ongoing. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'd accept it. I mean, he's an expert. This is what he does. He's been doing a very good job. I have tremendous faith in Dan Coates. And if he says that, I would accept that.
Huh? And just in case you are still not clear on exactly what kind of threat we face, FBI director chosen by President Trump, Chris Wray, laid it out while speaking to our own Lester Holt last night.
Malign influence operations are very active, and we could be just a moment away from it going to the next level. So to me, it's a threat that we need to take extremely seriously.
During their press conference in Helsinki, Vladimir Putin flat out denied that Russia tried to interfere with our elections. And while President Trump did not push back publicly, he told CBS that he did push back behind closed doors.
What'd you say to him?
Very strong on the fact that we can't have meddling. I let him know we can't have this. We're not going to have it. And that's the way it's going to be.
But this morning, the president softened his tone again, tweeting about that fact to, quote, probably have a good relationship with Putin. He says anyone who does not want that is essentially rooting for war. In fact, he says that it is the media that is fueling all of these controversies, even though they have been entirely of President Trump's own making. Remember that press conference the other day? Those were all his words.
I don't know what the fuss is all about. I think we did extremely well, and I think the press makes up the fuss. Look, it's fake news, and people understand. I think the press largely makes up a lot of the fuss about a lot of things, and I'm not talking about one of it. I'm talking about everything. It's crazy. You do something that's positive, and they try and make it as negative as possible.
Okay, so that was from Stephanie Rule, MSNBC. That was from July 19th, 2018. That clip is entitled "The Threat of President Trump's Back and Forth on Russia." The threat of President Trump's back and forth on Russia. That was Thursday, July 19th. Okay, you can check that out as well. All right, and then this last clip I want to get to, then we'll go to the phone lines. We'll go to Angeline in just a second here. Malcolm Nance, counterterrorist expert, 35 years in the business. Malcolm Nance, Trump did not speak for Americans in Helsinki. Okay, let's go to clip 5. Let's go to cue it up at the 1 minute mark. Okay, we got it. Let's go to clip 5.
Up, and then he responds to the question yesterday, and he says, and mouths no several times, and then we're supposed to believe that he was just saying he didn't want to answer the question. It's ludicrous, and this is the sort of back and forth that we see at the president. The president wants to be praised and told he's doing the right thing, and yet he can't get off this thing that he has deep inside him, where he just refuses to really be tough on Vladimir Putin and
But
Russia.
it wasn't just this wouldn't double negative controversy. Watch the entirety of President Trump's press conference with Vladimir Putin, and to say, well, I just misspoke on this one point is utter nonsense. Malcolm, I want to play for you a bit more. We showed it earlier about what President Trump said about Vladimir Putin in his interview with Jeff Lohr on CBS. Take a look.
If you believe U.S. intelligence agencies, is Putin lying to you?
I don't want to get into whether or not he's lying. I can only say that I do have confidence in our intelligence agencies as currently constituted. I think we have excellent people in the agencies, and when they tell me something, it means a lot.
Okay, do you think that gives, Malcolm, the intelligence community the assurance they need? It was just a couple of days ago that Dan Coats, without clearance from the White House, reiterated his statement, yes, the lights are blinking, Russia is still trying to interfere.
Well, the U.S. intelligence community is going to do their job day in and day out without any concern whether the president believes them or not. Their job is to produce information. He's the consumer. And, you know, there's that old saw, that throughout the community that you can lead a consumer to intelligence, but you can't make them think. This president, on the other hand, absolutely flat out does not believe anything that U.S. intelligence says to him, especially when it comes to him in summary form, and it violates the meta-narrative that's in his head about how the world works. And I have to tell you, that meta-narrative is not intrinsic to Donald Trump. That was put there by the Russians. He has adopted, as far back as 2013, he has adopted their worldview. And that's precisely what the Russians have always wanted. And so now he defaults to their position because that's how he was grounded in foreign policy. That narrative of Russia good, their money good, they want to be partners with him, they will enrich him in some way, and everybody else is out to get him. It's going to be very difficult going forward with anything until this president either disabuses himself of this opinion, or until some action forces us to have a new administration.
Let's pause it right there.
Let's be honest.
Pause it right there. All right, so that was, check that out. Check out the full clip. It's about 13 minutes. Stephanie Ruhle, R-U-H-L-E, MSNBC.com. Malcolm Nance, Trump did not speak for Americans in Helsinki. That's from Thursday, July 19, 2018. Watch that entire clip. It's deep, okay? And go to MSNBC.com and Google and search for Malcolm Nance, and you can Google Malcolm Nance. He's written 2 books dealing with the 2016 election and the plot to hack America, things like that. Malcolm predicted this stuff. Most of these things, Malcolm's one of the first people I heard talking about the CrowdStrike report and the Fidelis report. So I read those over 2 years ago during the election. I heard Malcolm talk about this, and I heard other people talk about the CrowdStrike report, but especially Malcolm. So I went and read it. So I knew over 2 years ago, it was 2 groups of Russian intelligence hackers who hacked the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign. Because CrowdStrike and Fidelis were 2 of the 4 cybersecurity companies that the DNC hired to find out what happened. So I knew that over 2 years ago. I was talking about that, you know, on my radio shows and telling people, go read the CrowdStrike report, go read the Fidelis report. All right, now, okay, let's go to Angeline, line 1. Angeline, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
Calling from Detroit.
Okay.
Thank you for the program. To the last caller, just prior to John, about crime and who did this and who did that, I would suggest all our listeners and to him just get a copy of the Encyclopedia of Crime and pay attention to the last page. And I'll just hang up and listen.
The Encyclopedia of Crime, where do you get that from? Encyclopedia of Crime.
I think I got it from World Book or something like that. I had a house fire and I think the book got destroyed.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
It gives I'm all right. I'm still on the planet and having to be here.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to try to be here. But it's called the Encyclopedia of Crime. And you don't see any Black persons in there until you get to the very last page. And I would like them to pay attention to who they were. All
Okay.
right, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for calling. Okay. July 18, 2018, this story broke from the New York Times. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. 2 weeks before his inauguration, Donald Trump was shown highly classified intelligence indicating that President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia had personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election. This came out on, what was this, Thursday? This came out Wednesday, okay? Breaking story, all hell broke loose when this story came out. The evidence included texts and emails from Russian military officers and information gleaned from a top secret source close to Mr. Putin, who had described to the CIA how the Kremlin decided to execute its campaign of hacking and disinformation. Okay, how the Kremlin decided to execute its campaign of hacking and disinformation. Trump sounded grudgingly convinced, according to several people who attended the intelligence briefing, but ever since, Trump has tried to cloud the very clear findings that he received on January 6, 2017, 2 weeks before the inauguration, which his own intelligence leaders have unanimously endorsed. Not only that, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper came out this past week after the story broke, and he confirmed he was in that meeting. He confirmed that they showed the evidence to Trump. TheHill.com had an article about this. Okay, I think I may have it bookmarked or something, that article, so I can give you the name of that article so you can go research this. So there's overwhelming evidence. There's a paper trail here. Okay, and then John Brennan, if I remember correctly, John Brennan corroborated that as well, that the meeting took place. Also, former CIA Director John Brennan. Okay, so on Monday, standing next to the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland, Trump said he accepted Putin's denial of Russian election intrusions. By Tuesday, faced with a bipartisan political outcry, Trump sought to walk back his words and sided with his intelligence agencies. On Wednesday, when a reporter asked, quote, "Is Russia still targeting the US?" Trump shot back, quote unquote, "No," directly contradicting statements made only days earlier by his Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats. Okay, and Dan Coats, we just saw a couple of days ago, I think it was Thursday, was interviewed by Andrea Mitchell at the Aspen Security Conference in Aspen, Colorado. And she said, "We have breaking news. There's a tweet that Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House this fall." He was totally blindsided by this. This is Trump's Director of National Intelligence who knows nothing about this. Sarah Huckabee Sanders broke this news on Twitter. These are Keystone cops, man. This is the most inept, ridiculous administration I've ever heard of. So directly contradicting statements made only days earlier by his Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, who was sitting a few chairs away in the cabinet room. Hours later, in a CBS News interview, Trump seemed to reverse course again. He blamed Vladimir Putin personally, but only indirectly for the election interference by Russia, quote, "because he's in charge of the country," end quote. This is what Trump said, because he's in charge of the country. In the run-up to the week's ducking and weaving, Trump has done all he can to suggest other possible explanations for the hacks into the American political system. His fear, according to one of his closest aides who spoke on the condition of anonymity, is that any admission of even an unsuccessful Russian attempt to influence the 2016 vote raises questions about the legitimacy of his presidency. The January 16th, now pay attention to this and read this article, New York Times, because this is 6 pages. I'm only on page 2 and we're gonna wrap up here. The January 6, 2017 meeting held at Trump Tower was a prime example. Trump was briefed that day by John Brennan, the CIA director, James R. Clapper Jr., the Director of National Intelligence at the time, and Admiral Michael S. Rogers, the Director of the National Security Agency, NSA, and the Commander of United States Cyber Command. The FBI Director, James Comey, who Trump fired May 9th, 2017, because he said the Russian investigation was a hoax, right? He said it was an excuse made up by the Democrats for losing. Okay, this is what Trump said. After it was revealed to him that Vladimir Putin was behind all of this. It was at this meeting, January 6, 2017, that FBI Director James Comey, after the formal briefing, then privately met with Trump about the Steele dossier. That report by a former British intelligence officer included uncorroborated salacious stories of Donald Trump's activities during a visit to Moscow, which he denied. According to nearly a dozen people who either attended this meeting, January 6, 2017, with the president-elect, or were later briefed on it, the four primary intelligence officials described the streams of intelligence that convinced them of Putin's role in the election interference. They included stolen emails from the Democratic National Committee that have been seen in Russian military intelligence networks by the British, Dutch, and American intelligence services. Officers of the Russian intelligence agency, formerly known as the GRU, have plotted with groups like WikiLeaks on how to release the email stash. Well, wait a second. In the last 30 days of the 2016 election, Donald Trump mentioned WikiLeaks at least 164 times. ThinkProgress.org had an article about this that documents this in interviews, in campaign speeches, on Twitter. In the last 30 days of the election, Donald Trump mentioned WikiLeaks at least 164 times. After he said, oh, WikiLeaks had no impact on the election. Well, why did you mention it at least 164 times? He told people, have you read WikiLeaks today? Go read WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. Well, wait a second. Russian military intelligence networks they included stolen emails from the DNC that have been seen in Russian military intelligence networks by the British, Dutch, and American intelligence services. Officers of the Russian intelligence agency, formerly known as the GRU, have plotted with groups like WikiLeaks on how to release the email stash. And ultimately, several human sources had confirmed Putin's own role. That included one particularly valuable source who was considered so sensitive that then CIA Director John Brennan had declined to refer to it in any way in the presidential daily brief during the final months of the Obama administration as the Russian investigation intensified. Instead, to keep the information from being shared widely, CIA Director John Brennan sent reports from the source to President Obama and a small group of top national security aides in a separate white envelope to assure its security. Donald Trump and his aides were also given other reasons during the briefing to believe that Russia was behind the DNC hacks. The same Russian groups have been involved in cyber attacks on the State Department and White House unclassified email systems in 2014 and 2015, and in an attack on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They had aggressively fought the NSA against being ejected from the White House system, engaging in what the deputy director of the agency later called, quote, hand-to-hand combat, quote, to dig in. The pattern of the DNC hacks and the theft of emails from John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, fit the same pattern. You got to read it. This is just page 2. This is a 6-page article. Read this article. This is what broke, all hell broke loose Wednesday. New York Times broke this story, David E. Sanger and Matthew Rosenberg. From the start, Trump has muddied a clear message, Putin interfered. So then you have this article here, this op-ed from Will Hurd. Now, Will Hurd is a Republican congressman, the 23rd District of Texas. Will Hurd is a former undercover officer in the CIA. Name of this op-ed article for the New York Times is called "Trump is Being Manipulated by Putin. What Should We Do?" He said, over the course of my career as an undercover officer in the CIA, I saw Russian intelligence manipulate people. I never thought I would see the day when an American president would be one of them. The president's failure to defend the United States intelligence community's unanimous conclusions of Russian meddling in the 2016 election and condemn Russian covert counter-influence campaigns and his standing idle on the world stage while a Russian dictator spouted lies confused many, but should concern all Americans. Confuse many, but should concern all Americans. By playing into Vladimir Putin's hands, the leader of the free world actively participated in a Russian disinformation campaign that legitimatized Russian denial and weakened the credibility of the United States to both our friends and foes abroad. Read the rest of this, okay? New York Times, Trump is being manipulated by Putin. What should we do? So they talked about a disinformation campaign, all right? Well, if you go back and you remember, well, wait a second, there were 3,500 fake ads and posts that Russians took out on Facebook alone, spent $100,000 on these ads, okay? So if we look at money.cnn.com, September 28th, 2017, last year, exclusive, fake Black activist accounts linked to Russian government. Fake Black activist accounts linked to Russian government. Read this article. A social media campaign calling itself Blacktivist, and linked to the Russian government used both Facebook and Twitter in an apparent attempt to amplify racial tensions during the US presidential election. Two sources with knowledge of the matter told CNN. So read that article. Then you have WashingtonPost.com. Okay, Washington Post. They had an article, September 25th, 2017. Russian operatives use Facebook ads to exploit America's racial and religious divisions. Read that article. Russian operatives use Facebook ads to exploit America's racial and religious divisions, okay? All right, so these other topics, one I already did a Facebook Live broadcast and it's on YouTube, so check that out, the African History Network on Facebook. This deals with remains of nearly 100 African Americans forced into labor after slavery are discovered in Texas. An article from New York Times and AtlantaBlackStar.com. Remains of Black people forced into labor after slavery are discovered in Texas, July 18, 2018. And this also deals with the convict leasing system. I did an extensive broadcast dealing with that, so you can check that out. And then also the NFL halts anthem policy after Dolphins criticized for considering suspensions of players who protest. NBCnews.com had an article July 19th. New York Giants owner says players won't be punished for protesting during anthem. TheHill.com, July 21st, 2018, they put the NFL put on pause their new policy, their new anti-protesting policy during the playing of the white national anthem. Because that's what it is. That's why we created the Black national anthem. Lift every voice and sing. Okay, so we'll deal with these topics next week. We have podcasts of them. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com connects you to Facebook, YouTube. You listen to audio podcasts as well. You can donate to the African History Network, PayPal.me, PayPal.me/the AHN show. And you don't have to have a PayPal account to do it. You can do it with your debit card or credit card. Stay tuned for Pastor Mo. I have to get out of here. Hey, remember at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you next time. Wakanda forever. Peace. All right. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Did you see Pastor Mo come in?
Oh, I did.
Okay. All right. I need 3 hours for this show.
Yeah, take John.
All right. Okay, guys. Hey, visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So put in the oven. Okay, this is a troll. You see, it's interesting how these trolls come on here and don't have anything better to do than troll. Because see, I'm busy. I'm doing research, so I don't have time to troll other people's broadcasts. But these trolls show how pitiful they are when they have to go on other people's broadcasts and troll them. Okay. So they really show, you're really telling on yourself when you come on other people's broadcasts. And so return of the brother, learn how to spell. I gave out the phone number numerous times, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I took all the calls from people calling in, so I don't know what you're talking about. We've been on for 2 hours. I gave out the phone number. I posted the phone number here, so I don't know what you're talking about. But you probably don't either. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Okay, talk to y'all later. Peace.